So hello again and welcome to a Feature Friday. So you might be a little frustrated with delivering records out to your application suite mobile users. They tell you that they're not able to see the records that they're responsible for in the mobile applications. There's several things you need to be aware of that can stand in the way of a record appearing out to the user. And the best part of this is we get to dust off our understanding of queries. So let's get started. But first, let's take a look at the user's security settings. A couple of things to have in place before you get started. Number one, make sure the security group that the user is a member of has access to the site or sites that they need to. Secondly, make sure the user is in a security group that has been granted access to the mobile applications. Third, make sure the security template for the mobile application has also been applied. And finally, make sure the user's default site has been set as well as their default storeroom if they're using the inventory apps. So these are the easy parts and the things that should already be in place. But at least at this point, they have access to the applications that they need. So now let's take a look at the interaction between the application suite server and the mobile applications. So all interactions between the application server and the mobile applications are done by way of the REST API. These two endpoints perform puts and gets to move data between the two. As the user performs transactions on the mobile applications, they are put back to the server. As the user synchronizes or requests an update, a GET is executed for them. Here's some key points. All of this interaction is done by way of the MX API object structures. Each mobile application relies upon several MX API object structures. While the mobile applications can have some queries hard-coded within them, the mobile applications mainly use pre-built queries that are on those MX API object structures to perform the puts and gets. What this all means is that there are query criteria that determine which records are drawn out of the database and sent to the user. Out of the box, there simply is just not a send everything to the user concept. So for example, here is the query on the MX API WO detail object structure. So in order for the user to see a work order record in their list of work orders that come by way of the assign work or assigned work drop-down in the technician or my schedule application, the criteria needs to be the following. The work order must be at least or beyond approved status, but not yet completed, and the user's record must have an assignment on that work order. And of course, there's some other blah, blah, blah site information in that query as well. But this is the query that defines what records appear out in the technician application for this particular user. So now let's try our theory with assets. So if I go to the Assets mobile application, I see a drop-down called My Assets. Question is, what does My Assets mean? Well, let's go look at the query and find out. Okay, so this time, however, we're going to go look at the MX API asset object structure. And as you know, you roll way down here to the bottom, look for query definition. And there may be several query definitions on these object structures. And just because I'm so smart, I can scroll down through here and I will eventually find the one that I'm interested in. And in particular, it is mobile my asset is the query I want to look at. And I will roll down here to the query clause and I'll just hover over it. And you can take a look and you immediately see, in order for an asset record to appear in the asset mobile application for any particular user, that user also has to be a custodian of that particular asset. And so that's the definition of, quote, my assets. So therefore, any assets that this user is a custodian of, they will show up out in that mobile application when they choose My Assets. So I hope you can see that in the end you need to understand the query details that are out of the box, which determine which records a mobile user will see. Otherwise, it's a great big mystery and it's very frustrating. And so I know your next question is to how best to make refinements to these queries if you want the users to see something different. Well, that of course is going to be a future video, so stay tuned. Anyway, hope this little bit was helpful and we'll see you next week.